Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Is the one, the only Cathy Engelbert, WNBA commissioner, actually in danger of losing her job? Let's talk about this. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And of course, shout out to the 19. Now, real quick, before I get to this, I haven't done this in a long time. I haven't put up anything new in a long time, but I do want to quickly show you some new merch because I'm kind of proud of this. I think it turned out really cool. I actually have 3 different versions, as you can see. Bench Mob Baddies. Bench Mob Baddies for the Indiana Fever. I think we all know who that is. This is design 1, and all these you can get in 3 or 4 different colors: white, gray, I think a light blue it popped on as well. I believe this is the only one with the green because it works because of the fonts on the other ones. But then I also had this. As you can see, it's kind of got that more of that, those old property of type of athletic jerseys as well. But again, white. I think I added pink in here because it does pop on the pink as well for this one, and the light blue. And then I've got a third one that has a little bit of pop to the bench baddies at the bottom there as well. So you can check that out. A few different colors again. And anyway, so that's it. I just want to know, it should be a link in the below. Let's dig into this now. We have Cheryl Reeve. I did a video the other day. She went crazy. Now, to be fair, the fine was a lot of stuff. I don't think this is a fine just for the comments on the officiating. This had to do with the game and everything, and how she interacted with some fans and getting tossed out and all that. But $15,000. This was Cathy Engelbert's response to some truth telling by Cheryl Reeve. We can all talk about whether we agree with how Cheryl Reeve approached it. Should have been something behind the scenes at a meeting. Should this be a WNBA issue with the CBA going forward and all of that? But $15,000 fines. By the way, as you can see below as well, Becky Hammon and Steph White were fined $1,000 each because they came out in support of Cheryl Reeve. Cathy Engelbert is getting people to band together. This is absolutely wild, and that's why I think everything is starting to come to a head. Now, again, I always say, and we got Geno Auriemma here in a minute, and we're gonna have some. I kind of get it, Geno, but moments with him as well. But as you can see here, right? Fever head coach Steph White and Becky Hammon were also fine because look, they came out and said, "Hey," Steph says, "I think she made a lot of valid points. I think at some point there has to be some accountability." And then Becky Hammon as well, from what I heard, she did not tell a lie. She said the truth. And I will say once again, yes, ladies, but where have you been? This has been the WNBA for its entire existence. And the whole point of it was, hey, remember, it's a physical league. It's a physical league. It's a physical league. How many times have we heard that in talking about the WNBA? They all embraced it. They were all quiet about it. They were all sort of proud of the WNBA being that. They certainly were quiet when it came to Caitlin Clark. Interesting enough, Caitlin Clark, remember Geno? Remember some of Geno's comments, not only about the fan base and how delusional they are, but about Caitlin Clark and not being able to handle the physicality of the league. So he was very aware of how physical the WNBA happened to be and has always been. But let's listen to what he has to say now.
And I've had a lot of NBA people, and a lot of former WNBA players tell me that what goes on in the WNBA game is way more physical than what happens in an NBA game. Now, you go to NBA games in the playoffs. Well, that's maybe a different story, but I think on a daily basis, I think the WNBA game is not conducive to like great basketball. Okay, I mean, you can spin it any way you want. Well, there's more viewers, there's more that. That's great. That doesn't mean it's a better game just because more people are watching, supposedly. Right? You watch last year's final game between the Liberty and the Lynx. It was a horrendous game. But any way you want to spin it, it was a horrendous game. Two of the two best teams in the league, and what score was 20-20 at halftime or some crazy. People can't get open, people can't cut. The ball handlers getting, whacked every time they move. listen, you always expect your best player or the other, you always expect your best player to have a rough time. I've been through that, and I've complained about it a lot. I just think that the way the game, and I don't blame the officials. Everybody says, these officials are bad. Those officials are good. If we had those officials, it'd be a better game. I don't think it's the people actually officiating the games. I think it's what's either in the rule book or what's accepted as this is the style of play that we want. Because if they didn't want that style of play, they wouldn't have it.
Wow. Okay. So first thing that we got to talk about with this, who is this man? And what have they done with Geno Auriemma? Is this AI? I mean, I'm not understanding this at all. I kept hearing about how the WNBA was a physical league, how Geno himself talked about how Caitlin Clark isn't built to withstand the physicality of the WNBA. And then he says in there, he actually talked about the ball handler in there getting whacked. Where were you the past two seasons, Geno, when it came to what was going on with Caitlin Clark, the Dejanay Carringtons, the Victoria Vivens, the Skylar Diggins, the Marina Mabrys, the J.C. Sheldons, every single player the Ryan Howards, every single player who has guarded Caitlin Clark since she entered the WNBA has gotten away with more than I've ever seen anywhere else in the league and in basketball. It's interesting that he talked about the quality of play and mentioned the final last year. And it wasn't boring, it was terrible basketball. But what's fascinating, and it's if this does get changed, it's going to be really interesting to watch. Now, I've always said Caitlin Clark is the tip of the spear, so to speak, in terms of new, better players coming into the league in terms of how they play the game. And it's going to take some years, but the quality of play is going to change. Of course, the refereeing does have to change with it to allow that to happen. But it's interesting now having this conversation when the physicality has always been there to cover up the lack of skill, the things that he's talking about, the cutters to the basket and all of that. I mean, look, let's face it, we still got Asia Wilson, four-time MVP, face of the league, missing the easiest layups I've ever seen and missing them badly. Not, oh, they go up there and they come in and they nick the rim and they rattle around and kick out. But we all know that one I'm talking about as easy as it can be from her strong side and throws it all the way up above the box, doesn't even hit the rim, goes up and over purposely. You have to work hard to be able to miss a layup that badly. But what I think is fascinating, really fascinating, or I should say is going to be interesting is going forward, especially with having the CBA negotiations as well at this time, is what this is going to mean going forward for Cathy Engelbert. Because so far, the only reaction I'm getting from her is this, folks. Cheryl Reeve, $15,000 fine. And then Stephanie White and Becky Hammon, $1,000 each. Now it says for criticizing officiating on Sunday, but it seems like it was more about, hey, they agreed with Cheryl Reeve in terms of what she was saying about the officiating. And again, look, I'm not a big Cheryl Reeve fan. I think probably the way that she delivered it and when she delivered it wasn't the greatest because I do get it. Like the one thing I will say in ending, because again, I always try to be fair, and I hate when y'all make me do this with Cathy Engelbert, is look, these fines for players and coaches. Now, you may say it might be the extreme, like maybe the NBA, the NFL isn't tracking down a tweet like Sophie Cunningham's or Caitlin Clark's, but that's all leagues, folks. And I'm not saying they're doing it right, but what I am saying is Cathy isn't doing anything different in terms of fining players and coaches for publicly criticizing officials. That is everywhere, right? You'll even talk about uh, NBA players or even coaches and even Stephanie White, right? She alluded it to it as well, but NBA players, so they'll get asked questions like, yeah, I can't go there. I want to keep my money. So anyway, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below about a few things. One, do you think Cathy's job is actually in danger? Do you think she makes changes going forward with the officiating? Do you think it's going to be a big part and maybe even a sticking point with the CBA? And then, of course, finally, and the big one I think is, what do you think of Geno Auriemma? Because on the face of it, it sounds great that he came out and do this, but we all know our experience with Caitlin Clark is where was all of this then? And that's the type of thing that really does piss me off. And also, hey, there should be a link below. Check out the new merch if you want to grab some bench mob baddie stuff. I do appreciate that as well. Do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Y'all know the drill by now. Really do appreciate it. Go the day you deserve. I will talk to you later.